Hi, this is Dominic Keating. I played Lieutenant Malcolm Reed on Enterprise, as you probably know, and you are listening to the NX 7062 podcast. Enjoy.
Oh, look! Hello, Robert. Hello, Faith. So nice of you to join me here on the NX 7062 podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie K, and I am back from La La Land. And people, you guys were lucky I got on that plane. It was so wonderful to be out in LA, seeing my friends, hanging out, had a real good time. Did not want to get up and leave. But real life was summoning. So here I am, back with you all. See, if I stayed out there, I would be, giving you this this podcast probably while I'd be eating dinner, because I wouldn't change it to 10 o'clock and make you guys, make all you all East Coasters have to stay up to 1 a.m. to see me. So, hello, Lasso. Thank you guys all for coming. I am so happy to be back. I have so much to tell you. So much has been going on. And of course, what did I forget to do before we started? I forgot to mute my phone. So let me just do that real quick. Well, hello, Podcat. I know you missed. Did you miss everybody last week too? Because Mommy wasn't home? He probably did. He probably missed, because this door, they don't come in the office when I'm not around and sitting in it. So I'm sure he missed it. So Podcat is back. I am back. Let's get right into what is happening. Let's see. Repop, Mission Chicago. They have finally started announcing guests. Now, their website's a little behind, but the guests are rolling out, and I can't get into details with y'all tonight, but I am going. I know I said I wasn't, but now I am. It doesn't completely have to do with the fact that they announced Dominic Keating and Anthony Montgomery. It really doesn't have, that's just, as I say, the cherry on the sundae. As I have more details to share with you guys, I will. The one thing I'm going to say right now is, because never been, neither have any of the Star Trek guests, we are really obviously looking forward to going, but it's going to be a completely different animal than creation. I'm not going to offer to do any interviewing while I'm out there, just because, again, don't know the lay of the land. It's only 3 days. So I don't want to bother anybody, even people that I know, even people that I think would say yes, just because I just don't think that it's right, while we're all kind of getting used to the lay of the land and what Repop is going to be all about with their Star Trek conventions. So save all your questions for Vegas, because Vegas is still on my agenda as well. Thank you, Faith. I thought so. Yeah, I just, it's all about the relationships that I've built. Some of them more tenuous than others, but all of them very special to me. And I don't want to put a strain on that. And I want to respect everybody. So hold all of your questions. Gives you a couple extra months to think about them, because I am going to try to do what I usually do in Vegas. Again, that's going to be a little bit of a different monster, because it's going to be in Bally's, but I'm hoping to have a good location to do interviews, and we'll take it from there. So I'm just really excited. It was really a last minute decision, and some last minute things fell into place. So I'm really excited about that. So what the heck has been going on? I mean, 2 weeks away, and so much stuff has happened. The cruise left. Hey, Blue! Good to see you. Thank you so much. Like I said, it's bittersweet to be home. As much as I love LA, it's really bittersweet to be home, because, obviously here's my family, out there are my friends, and warm weather. But let's see what has happened. The cruise left on Saturday with some of my friends aboard, including Ryan T. Husk, Go's 7th Rule After Party, Srock Lofton, Chase Masterson, some Connor Trinier, got to throw that one out there. Connor and Anthony and John Billingsley are on this one. Robert O'Reilly went on this one. And some of my personal friends who are all posting pictures to Facebook, which I scroll past very quickly because totally jealous. I wish none of them had bought the internet package, because I could deal with it afterwards. But I'm having a hard time dealing with the fact that they're all at sea and I'm not. But maybe next year, who knows? Next year's crew has been announced. Connor and John Billingsley are going to be there. A nice smattering of TNG people. But the best part is that Nicole DeBoer is going to be on next year's cruise. So excited. I know how much Nicole has wanted to go on that cruise. So I'm so happy that for the Deep Space Nine 30th anniversary, you're going to have double dacks because Terry Farrell was also there. And that's just the people they announced now. Booking for the general public is going to be on March 15th. If you have a cabin this year, you actually were already able to book before you left for this one, plus you can book on board. To answer your question, Robert, yes, Randy's couch was very comfortable. Got to sit next to his 3D printers while they were cranking out those police box, those rainbow police boxes. Sort of look like the one on my shirt. But it was great. It was great. Randy is an amazing host. I spent the last couple of days with another friend of mine named Nikki R, I call her, just to keep her separate in my group. And we were in Santa Barbara, which is where that video, or not Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, which is where that video came from. The one that posted but sort of didn't post. I don't know. I think I screwed up with the dating and then I couldn't fix it. Yes. The cruise, I was on it in 2019 and it was an amazing experience, and I'm looking forward to get back on the boat. So let's start. I think we're going to bookend this. I binge watched Discovery and Shuttlepod show yesterday. I did Discovery first, and then I did Shuttlepod show. So we're going to kind of bookend this. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about Discovery. Then I'll get into all my LA stuff, and then we can end it with Shuttlepod show. Blue. Yes, it is. Yes, that would be amazing. Obviously, they already did the documentary, What We Left Behind. But, you know, I'm sure, shout out to Seventh Rule, who most of them are off to sea. But I'm sure for the 30th, we're going to get lots and lots of, love from the Seventh Rule for the 30th anniversary, and hopefully the rest of the Star Trek community as well. Oh, Faith, I'm sorry. You know me, when I do my reviews, I sort of kind of try to keep it spoiler free, but there's going to be stuff. So I don't know if you want to just kind of mute it for a little while and I'll try to wave, or somebody can, oh, shoot, you're in Facebook. Nobody else is on Facebook. I'll try and remember to wave if you want to mute me for a little bit. But because I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. All right, Star Trek Discovery. Oh, all right, good to know. I mean, I tried, you know me, I try not to. All right, so they finally cracked the galactic barrier, which was visually stunning. They mentioned Jet, but I don't think anybody saw her. I think they handled the book Michael issues. All right, everybody's been warned. Blue's gonna spoil the heck out of stuff. They handled the Michael book thing very well, talking about finding that middle ground. You know, they had Book was looking for answers. Book didn't want anybody else to die, which is how how do you say his name? Ruan got into his head. He had ulterior motives. We finally found out, really sussed out exactly why Ruan wanted to destroy the DMA, why he wanted to try and get its power source. We finally got that backstory. I liked how that backstory about why he was doing what he was doing didn't take up the entire episode. Because, I'm all for really solid explanations, but I'm also all for, let's move the story forward. We're already doing, this is already a serial. It's not episodic. So as long as you keep moving the story forward, I'm good. I loved Saru and the Vulcan president. They are so cute together. And it's so funny to watch him trip over himself. with a new relationship, not knowing how to express himself, and how Kubler was right there for him and was just, you are not the only person in existence that made overtures and made these overtures, to somebody and just tripped all over yourself and was clumsy because you have feelings and you know how to express them. I love how Kubler makes him understand that's completely universal. That everybody has those issues. The other thing I liked about this was we finally got to see the bridge crew actually interacting. There was a bit of a complaint, and I have to tell you, I did not read the article, but I did see an article that talked about the fact that now that the ship is sentient, it just feels like everybody on the bridge is more set dressing than contributing. But this week we got Linus, we got everybody talking, and we also got to find out that not everybody agrees with what's going on. Some people think Book's got the right idea. The Discovery crew is divided. Some people think the Book's got the right idea. Some people agree that first contact really is the way to go, since we really don't know how or why or who the species is. Just that they're mining. They don't know who we are. They may not even realize that there's anything on the other side of the barrier other than this material that they need to mine. Right now, about Tarka, I want to hate him, but I fell for his friend the same as he did. I love Orso. Yeah, exactly. He's so torn. He's so torn about he's now a little more sympathetic than he was. He now is a little more sympathetic because he has this friend who, at one point, I thought they might have been even more than friends. He is from Risa. So, Rice is very open. And I just feel like they had more than a friendship. And then there was something a little bit deeper that was starting. And then to lose your friend. So, yes, he's slightly more sympathetic, but he's still an asshole. We'll call him an asshole I don't know how many times. He's still an asshole. He still tried to destroy Discovery. He's still, and the crushing thing is he did what he did, and all he did was make it worse. Absolutely. Absolutely, Blue. Absolutely. Real quick, yeah, that would be really nice if JG could make the cruise. Maybe when Bob reports back to him about how amazing it was, maybe he'll decide to go. But and he is DS9. So I'm liking the directions Discovery's taking. I'm liking the honest way that they're handling this conflict between Book and Michael, because they do love each other, but they are on opposite sides. But when Michael presented something reasonable in this compromise, Book was all for it. But again, love does make you do crazy things, and you got another guy that just didn't want to wait a week and just hit the button, because love makes you crazy. It's a good kind of crazy, but love makes you crazy. So that is my summary of Discovery. It's moving along good. I'm liking where the story's going. I'm excited to see what kind of first contact they do make. They need a Hoshi. I think we figured this out. They need somebody as good as Hoshi to communicate with these guys, because the universal translators probably are not going to do them any good. And Hoshi was able to figure out that binary language from that icky string stuff that took over the see, this is what I get for not looking these titles, because I really don't know the title to every Enterprise episode. But Hoshi was right there when there was really no universal translator, when it failed almost as many times as it worked. So hopefully the linguist guy that they have on the ship is just as good as she was, and doesn't fall back. I mean, he grew up in the land of universal translators, so he might be a really great linguist, but really, how good are you? Because are you Hoshi good? Are you Hoshi good? Because she didn't have one. I still love it in Broken Bow when she was trying to speak Klingon. So who wants to know what happened in LA at Gallifrey One? Which, Faith, I'm glad you're here, because you are a Whovian if memory serves, and Gallifrey One was freaking awesome. They had a lighter attendance this year. They did that on purpose. Oh, here we go. Blue. One more. In the liking theories being talked about, the DMA is caused by Orso trying to gain enough energy to bring Tarka over to the Paradise Place he's in. I really don't want Orso to be 10C. I guess we're gonna find out. I don't do theories either. Faith isn't here for the Star Trek. She's here for the Doctor Who. Which is why I actually won't read reviews and stuff. I don't actually buy into theories. I just kind of like to let the story happen to me. In the Lambda Quadrant, they all discuss theories about what's going on, and I'm like, nope, this is the conversation I'm jumping out of. One, you got to hang out with Melissa Show Jelly. She's awesome. She is an amazing human being. And yeah, actually, she was Vicarious Con Life. Oh, gotcha. Vicarious Con Life. It is. Yes, Melissa actually was the first person I saw after Randy. You're welcome, Blue. War Dog! Hey, you're just in time for the LA chat. Melissa and I actually had breakfast Thursday when I got to LA. We're going to do this. Let's do this chronologically. I got to LA late Wednesday night, got to Randy's, crashed on the very comfy couch, got up and met Melissa for breakfast. We had a lovely breakfast. Then I went to the Scareball Museum because they had on loan from a gentleman named, and I know I wrote this down and now I can't find, there it is, from the Paul G. Allen collection. Paul G. Allen is a gentleman who has like the largest personal collection of Star Trek memorabilia. So he put that on loan to Scareball. Scareball did an entire exhibit, including some stuff donated from Paramount, including Laurel, the white Laurel costume was there. They had T'Pol's uniform. I don't remember whose collection that was from. And I know I'm terrible. I need to post pictures. But I crawled through a little Jeffries tube. They had a little model Jeffries tube. But you could completely tell that this was put together by non-Trekkies, just some of the little things that popped up. You just knew that it was they didn't have a Trekkie who put together the exhibit, but it was beautiful. There was set used the console that the bridge console with Kirk's chair and where Sulu and Chekhov sat. Set used right there. Set used ships, including birds of prey and Romulan warbirds. And oh my God, they had this whole wall that had things like cereal boxes that at the time when TOS was on, like Spock was on a cereal box. There was a Monopoly game. It was just this amazing, absolutely amazing exhibit. I missed seeing Chris Hunter by 5 minutes. He was a friend of mine from Connecticut. Edwin was actually over there, and Edwin's posted on Facebook how he and Chris are going to the display, to the exhibit. I went, where are you? And literally, if Edwin had looked at his phone any sooner, we could have bumped into each other, because then they posted this great picture of Chris hanging out like in front of like the big picture of his dad from the cage. So that was pretty cool. But that's how I kicked off Gallifrey weekend with some Trek, because then we had to head over to the Marriott to set up. Lambda Quadrant had this great booth. We were here. Pop Culture Hero Coalition was behind us and on the corner. So we actually we worked with Chase, because Chase was a one-woman show this weekend, that past weekend. There were, yes. And I have videos, and I did take a couple of videos. I didn't like them enough to share with you guys. I need to kind of fix some stuff up. But I do have a video of a fully automated Dalek rolling around telling people it's going to exterminate them. We had an amazing Star Trek wine tasting. I highly recommend you guys checking out StarTrekWines.com. They have 6 different wines. They're all delicious. Something for every palate, which I kept saying like all day Friday. We had an amazing turnout. Lambda Quadrant had our first official Gallifrey event, which was the wine tasting. They did throw a little bit of Enterprise and a little bit of DS9 in, because Dominic Keating and Andrew Robinson were both there on Friday. So yes, I did have a chance to sit down and talk to Dominic between autographs. He is so excited about Shuttlepod show. He's so glad that he's going to be. I will do crappy videos, maybe. I haven't decided yet. I just may redo the audio. I didn't like, because it was just so hard to kind of walk around with the camera and narrate. But let's see. Dominic is really excited about doing Shuttlepod Show. He likes the idea of being a host and interviewer as opposed to interviewee. And it definitely shows when you watch. Yeah, it is. It's really awesome. I'm digging it too. And I told him as much. Also told him that Connor popped by last week. Just to kind of like give him a little nudge in case he ever wanted to pop by in the chats. Actually, I'd rather obviously have him pop by, which I also told him he's more than welcome. He and Connor are both more than welcome to come and talk about Shuttlepod Show, and get themselves back in the interview chair for a little bit. So yeah, we just kind of caught up, how he was doing and how much how much he's enjoying Shuttlepod Show. And let's see what else. Oh, and that he's going to be in Chicago, and that we're definitely going to see each other in Vegas. And he's just doing really well, and he's really happy, and he's happy to be doing this with the fans. So that's my report about Dominic. If I think about anything else that he said, I will let you guys know. What else? Oh yeah, talk to Andy Robinson a little bit. I got him to take a picture with a bottle of Canard. He's lovely. Can't wait to see him in Vegas and continue our getting to know you. A friend of mine asked me to get him Sophia Myles' autograph. For those of you who are David Tennant Doctor Who fans, you will know her as the girl in the fireplace. Which actually, when I went up to her, I said, listen, I knew you from I know you were Girl in the Fireplace. I didn't want to tell her I didn't like that episode because she was trying to come between the Doctor and Rose. But I did say I recognized her immediately from Moonlight, which she was just she's like, Moonlight rock. This is exactly what she did. And it did. And we talked about Moonlight and how much I loved it. And then she signed the autograph for my friend. I also got Fraser Hines' autograph. He was in the very early Second Doctor. He was a Second Doctor companion named Jamie. I've seen him in one episode. I've only seen one Patrick Troughton episode. And then for my friend, I got him Chase Masterson's autograph as well, because he loves Lita. So I got him a Lita autograph. Let's see what's Blue got to say. Shuttlepod Show table read was fun. Billingsley was great. Billingsley was great. Yes, it does. Picard season 2 is this Thursday. So that's amazing that we're rolling from Disco and into Picard, and there's just Trek everywhere. I heard a rumor that the people in the cruise are going to get to see it. Lucky them. Somebody posted a picture. They have a real movie screen on the pool deck. When I went, we were on the Royal Caribbean. No, we were on Norwegian, and they didn't have a full-size screen on the pool deck. It was like this column, and everything got cut off, and it was very annoying. So my guess is there are going to be people on the pool deck watching Picard in a couple of days. What else happened when I was in LA? Oh, yeah. I've been teasing about hanging out with Klingons, because I did on Thursday night. There was a live table read. Now, mind you, that Sunday I had watched the table read of Shuttlepod 1 and loved it. Fast forward to Thursday, and there was a live table read of this amazing play called Ladyface, which was written by Maddie Joff, who also starred in it. Maddie happens to be, yes, they are. Yep. See what happens when you come late to the game? Yes, they are. We talked about War Dog. See? Tardy. Get demerits because you missed stuff. But I love you, and thank you so much for joining us. Maddie is Mary Chifo's partner. So Mary, of course, had a part, as did Blue DeBarrio. And I know I'm going to screw up her last name, but Issa Baronis, who, if you watched Picard, she played Soji and her sister. And the play is actually about the human rights of artificial intelligence, very Measure of a Man kind of thing. And can AI reach sentience? Can they have emotions? And it's a very dark comedy. And Issa actually did not play the AI. She did not play a synth. Which when the play was over, and tonight is the last night. Ladyface was done by a group called Bespoke Plays, and it's a very small group that allow these wonderfully talented independent writers to have a place to show their wares. All right, Blue, this is what you're going to do. And I didn't realize, unfortunately, that ticket sales are ending tonight. But head over to Eventbrite and look up Ladyface. And I give you permission to stop watching me and go do this because the ticket sales end today. So I hope that ending today means Pacific time and you still have more than a couple hours. They're going to be live streaming it. They taped it. And they're going to be live streaming it. Blue was the stage manager. It's a play within a play. The play is actually about a play called The Five Madonnas. So it's a play within a play. So they have a stage manager played by Blue, who acts as a narrator, who is so freaking incredibly talented. Because after the play was over, they announced that the cast was going to be heading across the street to grab a drink at the bar across the street. So of course we all headed across the street. Ladyface. The name of the play is Ladyface. It's by Maddie Joff, J-G-O-F-F, who's also a Whovian. But so we all head over to the bar, and lo and behold, Mary, Chifo, and Isha show up. Blue, Ian Alexander was there, and we figured maybe Blue and Ian went off. So we didn't get a chance to talk to Blue, but there were parts where Blue looked like they were ad-libbing. And when I had a chance to talk to Maddie about it, we asked her specifically, was Blue ad-libbing at all, or was everything written? And Maddie said, that was written. But the way Blue did it, it made it look like it was an ad-lib, which made it even funnier. So it was incredibly, wonderfully, it was funny, it was dark, it made such amazing, poignant social commentaries. So if you can, I believe there's one more showing and it's tomorrow. So you have to buy a ticket tonight to go see it live streamed, or not live streamed, it's on video, but there's a stream tomorrow. So Blue, please go check it out. Let us know if you're able to get a ticket and what the details are. Five Madonnas, one Dia, Susan Madonna, Vogue Madonna. Blue is an incredibly talented human being. I am not gonna lie. Blue is an incredibly talented human being. And Blue was amazing. They were all amazing. So I had a chance to talk to Issa, had a chance to talk to Mary. Mary and Maddie are on the cruise, but I do have a way to get in touch with Mary when she returns. So hopefully she will be on the podcast. If not, I'm going to get Maddie on the podcast because Maddie's a huge sci-fi geek. She loves Star Trek, obviously. She loves Doctor Who. We had an entire we bonded over Doctor Who. We tried to get them to come to our event. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Obviously, that weekend was the last weekend because everybody was on the cruise, getting ready for the cruise. I don't know how Chase does it. Chase did the entire weekend and then, packs up, has to get everything in order to fly to Florida so that she can get on the boat. Again, an incredibly amazing human being. So highly recommend. Hopefully, if this does well and their streaming does well, maybe they'll stream it again. But like I said, Eventbrite, anybody who wants to go check out Ladyface on Eventbrite, see how much tickets are, because it's supporting this small theater in Pico, in LA on Pico. It's supporting this incredibly small theater and these incredibly talented independent playwrights whose voices need to be heard because they are amazingly good. Let's see. When you are a force of nature like Chase, it looks easy. Yes, this is very true. It does. Mary is amazing. I love Mary to death. I love everybody. Issa is amazing too. Issa was we had an entire conversation about how, and you weren't the AI. And then it was all about her vintage tastes, which killed me because to her, vintage is the 80s. Makes me feel old. It's okay. She comes and does the podcast. I'll forgive her. But that was an amazing way. So like I said, Thursday was completely Star Trek before we delved into the Doctor Who side of things. I sat at the booth. I got Evan his autographs. I talked to Dominic. I talked to Andrew. We had this amazing time. And it's just kind of all like this amazing blur. Like I sat down to sit down and like write about it. And I'm like, what could I possibly say except that we're going to hopefully be there next year. I can imagine if it's anything like the face I made. Let's see. I think my ad blockers are messing it up. Says ticket sales end in 3 hours, yet won't allow me to add or check out. Got to deactivate and try harder. All right, Blue, you go for it. You go for it. You get yourself those tickets because trust me, you will not be disappointed. I'd say, honestly, depending on how, because there were 2 showings. So depending on how they taped it, because there was no intermission, it was just straight through. So I don't know if it was the one that I went to, but I'm on stage right. And at one point, Mary drops her pearls and they almost roll right to my feet. So I don't know if the camera caught any of the people that were kind of sitting on the sides, but you might see me. I'm wearing this burgundy shirt that I got at STLV. I call it my subtle Star Trek shirt because printed on it in black is just the basic Delta and then pips up on the, and Issa, I was talking to Issa, she goes, I love your shirt. I'm like, oh yeah, because it's dressy. So it looked nice to wear out, but it's also Star Trek. So it's very subtle Star Trek, so it fit. So I was just impressed that Issa saw it. Like I said, I'm trying to get Issa too. We'll see what happens. We will definitely. 80s is vintage. Yes, I know. Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to say. I'm just going to say I lived through the 80s. What she considers vintage was. I'm like, if I had known it was going to be vintage, I would have saved my clothes. Stirrup pants are coming back. I wore stirrup pants. I own stirrup pants. They're coming back. So if you guys have any specific questions about Gallifrey, like I said, I didn't really talk to any of the actors. There weren't too many there that I was really overly interested in. Like the new Master was there, and I don't like his performance. I don't like the new Master from the Jodie Whittaker doctors. And it was very, for the limited number of people, it's still not the biggest space in the world. So it was kind of hard for me. I did see my buddies at Pixel Who. For anybody that likes Doctor Who and just has this appreciation for pixel art, I highly recommend Pixel Who. It's Pixel, Pixel, WHO. They're on Etsy. They have this amazing, he literally makes all of his artwork dot by dot by dot, and it's awesome. I don't have 70s. My first concert was in the 80s, and I probably somewhere still have that Hooters t-shirt somewhere. I'm Monkeys. I also saw the Monkeys in 86, and I have that t-shirt somewhere too. Those were my first 2 big concerts, and those were both in the 80s. So, let's see. I've talked about Gallifrey. I talked about Lambda Quadrant. Talked about Discovery. Talked about Ladyface. Talked about hanging out with some Klingons. I guess that doesn't leave much else to talk about except Shuttlepod show. Yay. So Shuttlepod show, they did 2, I guess the table read was just kind of their warm-up because now they've got 2 shows on YouTube. I was going to say 2 under their belt, but I know they taped at least 1 more because they taped one with Jeffrey Combs, which I cannot wait to see. Tom Baker is amazing. Tom Baker, from what I understand, does not really do American conventions anymore. That's my understanding. They had Sylvester McCoy. And they had, Jodie Whittaker has, there's this alternate doctor, this other doctor, and I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head. She was there. I think those were the only 2 doctors. They had Eric Roberts there, who was the Master in the Paul McGann movie. I think that's it for doctors. I think just Sylvester McCoy and the alternate doctor from the Jodie Whittakers. They did have some cancellations. Unfortunately, cancellations of people that I wouldn't have mind seeing. But yeah, Tom, I think, is in his 80s at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, as far as I know, he's still pretty spry. I believe he's still doing Big Finish audio dramas as the Fourth Doctor. But yeah, I do not believe he travels much outside of the UK, and I don't blame him, especially with COVID. The numbers in LA were still pretty high, so just under normal circumstances, he doesn't really travel outside the UK. So I don't think he yeah, that's my answer on Baker. So Shuttlepod show, they now have a little theme, and they have a new format, and right now they're doing interviews. He's older than my pop, so that is old. There you go. They're now doing interviews. So they, exactly, better safe than sorry, War Dog. They did John Billingsley and Gary Graham. And John was their first official, like, season 1. It's like 0 and then 1. So, and it was really good, and it was really fun. And again, I heard stories that I hadn't heard. And listen, I've been kind of up on my Enterprise since 2016 and gone to a lot of conventions and sat through a lot of panels. And a lot of times on the panels, you hear the same stories because people ask them the same questions, or you're standing by their table and you hear the same questions. But now that they're in control and they're doing the interviewing, or as John Billingsley and as Shuttlepod show said when they were here last time, John Billingsley basically takes over everything. So Eric, was it Erica LaRose, who is now their on-camera producer. So she sits and she asks trivia questions, and she's the one that brings in the questions from the fans. But when you've got those three guys, it's like herding cats. It really is. And trust me, I know her pain because I have interviewed, I've interviewed Connor and Dominic together, and it wasn't as bad as when you interview JG and Robert O'Reilly together. That's a challenge that I think any seasoned interviewer would have a problem with, because they go off on tangents. And I mean, they're fun, and if you just let them run, it's great. But if you're on any sort of time constraint, forget about it, because you're going to go over. But John talked about the telethon. He talked about Hollywood Food Coalition. They talked about, and again, I don't want to spoil it because I really would love it if all of you, like I said, I am now the official Seventh Rule and Shuttlepod after show, but after party. So I really don't want to spoil it, but those three guys together just swapping stories, and then they now have a new thing where they do trivia. And they tried one format with John that just totally fell apart. That's the other thing I did find out from Dominic, is that their producer worked with Connor a few years ago, and he's producing them now, and he is a huge, huge Star Trek nerd. Yeah, they do. They have their own thing, which is great to watch. It's just difficult if you actually have interview questions for them. So Mark, who's the off-camera producer for the Shuttlepod show, is a huge Star Trek fan. So the trivia is basically, let's see if three people that were actually in Star Trek are better at trivia than Mark. And actually, Mark, yeah. You know, just because you're in Star Trek doesn't mean you know trivia, especially when it's outside of your own show. So they did. They talked about a lot of things, and then they did the same format with Gary the following week. I'm assuming it's going to be the same with Jeff, where they just basically sit down and shoot the shit. And I admire that, because y'all know that I am here. I have my notebook, and I sit here and I've got my plan laid out. But it's just a very generic outline, just for talking points that I don't want to forget. But we all know I am famous for going off on tangents. And you just kind of let the conversation go where it goes. And to watch three people that lived through Star Trek, it was amazing. Dude is a huge Trek nerd for sure. He missed one this week. Ooh, all right. That's right. Did he miss one? Gary missed all of them. Gary Graham was this week, and Gary missed all of his trivia questions. Yeah, no, Mark did miss one. I think you're right. He did miss one. But that was, let's see, dude is a huge Trek nerd. Yep, which is good when you have a Trek nerd that hosts a podcast with Trek actors. But poor Erica, just trying to keep those guys on track. It wasn't going to happen, which is great. So it's one reason I'm glad I just do this by myself, because I I could just go off and I could just go off on whatever tangent I want because I don't have anybody writing me in. But then, like I said, and then when I do an interview, if somebody wants to go off the rails, I have no problems with that either. The other really cool thing about Gary's interview was you got to hear 2 songs by Sons of Kirk. Hopefully they will be performing this year at STLV. Gary got 0 on his, this is a spoiler alert, Gary got 0. He knows no Trek trivia. Dominic got his, but you really need to listen to explain how he was able to answer these questions because I love that. I absolutely, absolutely love that. I think that bottle has to be, yes, there's whiskey that they're drinking, but I don't think they're swilling it. If you look, there's like this much. I think that bottle is like emptied before the show. Like, it's a prop. It's a prop, in my opinion. I'm not sure that they're drinking as much as they make it look like they're drinking. It is the Shuttlepod show, so maybe they just want to make the whiskey look like it did when they were drinking it on Shuttlepod One. The one thing I will say that I thought was really cool was they did, they questioned on the Gary show, they questioned each other about if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only have one band, one author, and your one band, one author, one dessert, and one of like your favorite meal. And they all went around and answered that. And Connor said the Beatles. And I thought that was awesome because that actually would probably be, I'd have a tough time, but I probably would pick the Beatles just because if you're going to be stranded on a desert island for however long, you want a band that's got a catalog. And the Beatles have enough of a catalog that you could be happy listening to them, in perpetuity. Dominic and Gary both chose classical composers, and I absolutely can see that too, because sometimes instrumentals, and especially the classics, where there's something new every time, classical, I could absolutely understand that. I could see that too. So I definitely leaned towards, I wouldn't choose that. I would still go with Connor and the Beatles, but I definitely see the logic behind picking a classical composer. But this is the one thing, and I was really sort of tempted to say something like, I literally yelled at Connor through the TV screen because I have, like most of you, I'm sure if you have a smart TV or if you have a Fire Stick, you can watch YouTube on television. It's tough because you can't comment, but it's cool to watch it on the big screen instead of the computer. Anyway, so so one of the trivia questions had to do with a trill, and Connor said Dax, and then he mentioned how amazing Terry Farrell was playing Dax, and I started yelling at the screen because he's friends with Nicole DeBoer. They sit near each other at every convention they do together, and yet she did not get a shout out as Dax as the other Dax. So yeah, if she hasn't heard about it by now, I may have to tell her, just so she can, just needle Connor a little bit about that, because I just thought that was so not fair. I'm yelling at the screen. How rude. Forgot your friend Nicole. She was also a Trill. She was also Dax, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet. Might just take that little clip off of YouTube and send it to her. Just be like, you need to see this. Such disrespect. I do know that that's good. But if you haven't watched the Shuttlepod show, if you are not following the Shuttlepod show, to watch Connor and Dominic take the reins, unless John Billingsley is present. Although, who knows what's going to happen with Jeff. I can't wait. Jeff Combs is one of my favorite Star Trek people. And he's so goddamn talented. And I can't wait to see him talk to them about all the Shran stuff. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it, but Gary did get in some stuff about Alienation. Come to find out, Dominic had no idea what Alienation was. So he got a little Alienation education, which was great. I actually had the pleasure of participating in an interview with both Eric Pierpoint and Gary Graham. Was it Virtual TrekCon 2, I guess? we put together an Alien Nation reunion, and Sir Rock Lofton and Ryan Husk and I did the interview. And I was kind of like the resident Alien Nation expert because I actually bought the series and set on digitally. It's actually the first digital purchase I ever made of like an entire series because there's only one season. So I bought this and I watched about half of them to kind of refresh my memory about exactly, the nuances of Alien Nation. I mean, I knew the general story, but so I'm up on my Alien Nation, and that's something else that's out there on YouTube if you want to go watch it. Because if you're an Alien Nation fan, a Gary Graham fan, an Eric Pierpoint fan, oh, War Dog, you saw it. Yes, it really was. Just that reunion and the fact that both of them ended up doing Enterprise together. And that's another thing. If they had gone into a 5th season, I would have loved to have seen Eric Pierpoint come back somehow, because the whole thing about you're never really out. When you leave Section 31, you never really leave. I would have loved to have seen him come back and seen Malcolm have some more troubles with his old life. And I just thought, there you go. Or dog, just you see everything. But yeah, I had so much fun doing that interview. I was so grateful that Ryan invited me in. I was actually the point of contact for Eric because Eric did my podcast back when it was just audio. So I don't know. I mean, I could conceivably maybe reach out to him again. I don't know. I may not. We'll see what happens. It's kind of hard. I mean, I have a whole new audience now that you guys are all here with me. So if you guys would like to see Eric Pierpoint, if you haven't seen or heard or would like to hear about Eric Pierpoint, let me know, because I absolutely don't have a problem emailing him and checking in with him again. He is so incredibly gracious. And he's actually an author too. If you're a history buff, he writes these historical themed novels. So Eric's amazing. But yeah, that was great. That was really great. And Gary was in frickin' Hawaii, which just sort of rubbed it in because we're all like freezing our ass. They're in California. I'm freezing my ass off wherever I was because I was here in Jersey. And when we recorded it, and Gary's like, yeah, I'm in Hawaii. And we're all like, yeah, sucks to be you, Gary Graham. He actually moved up to Spokane. He actually left LA. He came down to LA to do the Shuttlepod show. I'm sure he had other things he could have done, but yeah, he's living the good life up in Washington now, and he says he doesn't miss LA at all. Meanwhile, I am trying desperately to move out there. I just would really love to have a warmer climate. I'm a beach bunny, so I really do need a warmer climate more than 3 months out of the year. I'd love to see Eric on your show. He's a great interview. Gary is now my neighbor to the west. Oh, only 250 miles away. There you go. Yeah, I could give it a shot. Like I said, Eric is incredibly gracious, so I can give it a go, see what he's up to, see if we've got anything new. He actually, what I find really funny, and I mentioned this, he was actually in 911 Lone Star. Connor, as we know, has the recurring role in 911 as the bomb guy, as the head of the bomb squad. So I just thought it was kind of cool that another Enterprise fan ended up in Enterprise actor ended up in 911 Lone Star. Maybe there is an Enterprise fan involved in 911. I will tell you this. I really wish I would have downloaded this picture, but I didn't. But I have it somewhere. I should share it. The Bull, which is the Michael Weatherly show that's on CBS. CBS, of course. I'm catching up on all this stuff, and I was away. There was a scene in Bull. They had these really cool lucite see-through dry erase boards, and two of the characters are trying to figure out a problem, and they've got two. You don't know it at the time, but they've got two. So did you watch it? I don't want to. Well, this isn't a spoiler. I love Bull too. This isn't a spoiler, but this past week's the last episode that was on. So they're sitting down trying to figure out somebody's password. So the two women are just making notes on a dry erase board, and then they switch camera angles. So you realize that there's another dry erase board on the other corner of the room, and now the one character is standing in front of it, and you look behind the character, and written on that whiteboard, or that dry erase board, Star Trek TNG. Star Trek, then not Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but DS9, and then it looked like they were trying to write Voyager. They didn't write Enterprise. And then underneath that, Fave Movies, and then you could just see how they started to list all the Star Trek movies. So it was only for a second, but it caught my eye. Obviously, somebody in the props department is a Star Trek fan. They were dressing the set. They said, we don't care what you put on that one. It's going to be in the background for a few seconds while she delivers a couple of lines before we switch angles again. So somebody just did an entire Star Trek thing. So Faith, if you were up to date, it's when they were trying to figure out the Bitcoin password. It's the dry erase board that they were not writing the passwords on when they were trying to figure out the password for the Bitcoin. Anyway, so I thought that was really cool. Star Trek is everywhere, including on Paramount. It's Paramount Plus, but now like everything else, like CBS, it's all Paramount Global. Yeah. Oh, maybe it is Michael Weatherly then. I didn't watch the original NCIS except for the one that Connor was in. Connor was in, actually, and he also was in NCIS Los Angeles for a scene, but he had a role in an episode of NCIS. Maybe it's just because it's all Paramount. Well, now it's all Paramount Global. It's not Viacom CBS anymore. It's Paramount Global, which Stephen Colbert actually referred to last week on one of his shows, that they switched names. It's now Paramount Global. So anyway, you guys are now caught up on exactly all of my fun and exciting life. We've got the Picard premiere on Thursday, so I think you all know what we're going to be talking about next week besides Shuttlepod show reviews. We're going to be talking about Picard. Can't wait to catch up with Picard, see what he's up to as this new synthetic life form. Maybe not for long because Q. But who knows? So everybody that's going to be watching Picard, watch it before my show next week so that there won't be any spoilers. Because we actually all know my rule is 48 hours after something airs, it's all fair game, because I look at it as thanks to the internet. I applied for that. I'm going to have to check my emails. My email box gets so full, I have no idea. But I'll have to check my emails about that. So, for all you lovely people, I will put videos together. Hopefully, I'll tweak them. If you have any questions about Gallifrey, I highly recommend it. If you can make it out to LA, it's at the Marriott LAX. They're planning for next year. I can't wait. They're so welcoming. Love Doctor Who. Can't wait to see if maybe they get Tennant next year. That would be awesome. I'm not sure if they've ever had him. They had Eccleston in 2020. So only seems fitting that they get Tennant over. And like I said, like and subscribe to the Shuttlepod show, to the Seventh Rule, to me. I'm assuming you all have, but if you haven't, I could always use some more likes and subscribes. Could also use some more patrons, anybody that would like to support the show. I would be most grateful, all this traveling and everything else that is going on in my life. You can support the show by finding me on Patreon. I'm at NX7062 on Patreon. Also, my Teespring store, if you don't want to commit to a month, which I completely understand, go pick yourself up a coffee mug at the Teespring store. Or if you head over to Punk Army, you can get an official NX7062 podcast hat. Looks just like the NX01 hat, except it says 7062 on it. And that is made by my friend Raymond, who works with Chase. So that's everything that I have got going on. Like I said, like, subscribe, support. I love the fact that you guys are all here every week for me to talk to, because obviously I wouldn't be here if you weren't here. So guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I will catch you all next Monday. Until then, as always, live long and prosper.
Hey, this is Connor Turner. You've been listening to the NX7062 podcast with Stephanie. Enjoy your evening.